Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today, I'm doing a quick look back at some of the biggest government fleet stories from March. And really, March had a lot going on. We saw big conversations around leadership, around hiring pressure, and the future of the workforce. But we also saw a bunch of real world examples of how fleets are changing right now, whether that means drones, telematics, AI, or new approaches to replacement planning. So let's get into a few of the stories that stood out this month. One of the big ones was our story on women in fleet, leadership, innovation, and industry evolution. That story felt especially fitting for Women's History Month because it focused on the women helping shape the fleet industry today. And that wasn't just from a leadership standpoint, though it was written by a woman in leadership, but also in how the industry is growing and changing. Fleet is evolving, of course, and a big part of that is who is helping lead it, as well as who is bringing in new ideas and who is making an impact across the industry. That story also tied into something that we covered a lot in March, and that's change. Fleet leaders are dealing with a lot at once right now. We've got new technology on one side, workforce expectations on another, and just those changing priorities that wrap it all together. And that brings me to another major story from the month, which was how fleet leaders are adjusting to constant change. I think that headline does feel a bit familiar to a lot of people in this industry, as the job is not getting simpler. Fleet leaders are being asked to do more, being asked to think long term, and still keep everything running day to day. The story really got at the idea that adapting is no longer some separate strategy. It's just part of the job now. And speaking of workforce pressure, we also published data from the 2026 Government Fleet Salary Study. And this was important because it showed that while pay is holding up, there is a larger workforce challenge that is still very real. Fleets are currently dealing with recruitment issues, retention concerns, and the ongoing challenge of finding skilled people. So, even when compensation looks solid, that doesn't always automatically solve the bigger staffing picture. That was one of the clearest themes from March. People are still at the center of all of this. Leadership matters and retention matters. Hiring matters as well, and those issues are not going away anytime soon. Now, beyond those bigger picture stories, March also had a lot of news that showed how fleet operations are changing on the ground. One of the first stories to highlight was the Mooresville Police Department launching a drone first responder program. They're still using drones to provide real time aerial support and foster situational awareness during emergency calls. And this is one of those stories that shows how the definition of fleets keeps expanding. It's not always just about trucks and upfitted units anymore. More agencies are looking at new tools that can support operations in a faster and more informed way, and drones are becoming part of that conversation. Another police story from the March roundup was that the Culpeper Police Department were starting to roll out a new patrol car fleet design. The new look was inspired by the Blue Ridge Mountains, and what I liked about this story is that the design came out of a department-wide process involving both sworn and civilian staff. So yes, it is a fleet design story, but it is also about identity, input, and getting people involved in how the department presents itself. We also saw more movement in the tech and maintenance space. Fleetio launched its AI Service Advisor, which is designed to help fleet managers evaluate repairs, automate workflows, and speed up maintenance approvals. AI is clearly becoming a bigger part of the fleet conversation, and this is one more example of that. The interesting part will be seeing where these tools actually make life easier for fleet teams, especially in maintenance, where speed and consistency matter so much. Another story from March was that the city of Temple is enhancing their fleet operations with new telematics technology. They're deploying a geotab system across multiple municipal departments, and it's another sign of just how big telematics are in fleet operations. It's also helping fleets improve maintenance, monitor safety, and get a better handle on overall vehicle performance. More and more, this kind of visibility is becoming part of the standard toolkit. And along those same lines, the city of Powell, Ohio is using fleet data analysis to reduce vehicle replacement costs. And it really shows what can happen when fleets use data to guide replacement timing instead of relying on habit or guesswork. In a public sector environment where every dollar matters, stories like this do stand out. March also brought some news on the equipment side. We had some more products that launched, so go to our equipment and products page and check them out. And finally, in the green fleet space, there was a charging platform for autonomous vehicles and electric fleets that was launched. This is one of those stories that might feel a little more future focused, but we are starting to see more of them. And it matters because it points to where infrastructure is headed. As more fleets think about electrification, the charging side of that equation is only getting more important. And this shows that companies are already working on what the next phase could look like. So, when I look back at March, a few things really stand out. For one, workforce issues are still front and center. Two, technology is showing up in more parts of fleet every month. And three, fleet leaders are having to manage all of it at once. But that's what March felt like to me, a month full of change, but also a month full of examples of how fleets are trying to keep up and improve operations for what's next. And that's it for March. Thank you for joining me once again, and we'll see you in April for another roundup.